welcome back to another episode of the Bitcoin Magazine podcast. I have the leadership group of Hive Digital here on the show. Really excited to be chatting once again with Ayden and Frank from Hive and talk about what is happening with their business. Just a quick update from their investor letter. They recently produced over 259 bitcoins. They're hodling close to 2,000 bitcoins, and they're maintaining over 3.3 exahash. A lot has been going on in the public Bitcoiner market and our public Bitcoin miner market, and I am really excited to sit down with these gents. So, without further ado, Frank, Ayden, welcome back to the show.
It's great to be with y'all.
So, gentlemen, I really see you both as kind of both my infrastructure and mining experts, but also my experts in kind of what's happening in data center tech more generally, not just Bitcoin. Hive has a very, very interesting story where you were mining Bitcoin as well as with GPUs. But when GPU mineable coins like Ethereum switched to POS, you were able to actually transition those data centers. So I think that this conversation is going to be really fascinating because we're going to see how data centers in general are kind of growing and what goes into it. But before all of that, let's talk about Hive Digital. You used to be called Hive Blockchain. Just earlier today, that changed. Frank, let's jump to you. Hive Digital. Why the name change?
I think it's well covered, in our headline today in the press release, so that our strategic expansion to power the future of the artificial intelligence and just the whole explosion in GPT chat and other competitors coming out with other GPT, the use of AI creates a big need for NVIDIA chips. And we're fortunate that we started planning this early. We didn't expect GPT chat to unfold this past quarter the way it has, but it's been nothing but a wonderful position for us as we tested our beta site. And now we're going to scale it. On a macro basis, it's going to, it has $100 million opportunity with high gross margins like when we used to mine Ethereum. But I think we're focused on Bitcoin miners. We're going to double our exahash in the next 6 to 9 months. I think about 6 months is our goal. And the upgrading, and I can give you all the granularity. He's doing an amazing job there. And this is another source of revenue for us, where we could take these GPU chips and use AI to mine smaller coins and convert them to Bitcoin, at the same time as expanding this big opportunity with GPT chat.
Ayden, you wanna jump in with kind of your perspective on this opportunity that Hive has?
Yeah, it's been exciting because what we've actually done is successfully built a beta program where we've booked $250,000 of revenue on our financials that were just announced, which was our fiscal year end, that it goes up till March 31st. So that $250,000 actually was just a month and a half with I think about 400 GPUs. And what we're in the process of doing now is we partner with Supermicro, which is one of the world's leading manufacturers of the CPU servers. And so what this does is it really provides a strong foundation to unleash the full potential of our GPUs by populating these super servers with 10 GPUs. Got over 7 terabytes of storage. We've got dual Intel processors, 96 threads, all the stuff that you need to really do that hardcore intensive compute. And so we've actually got our first new order, I should say, because we did the beta with our Supermicro. So we have our first commercial order arriving in Stockholm Monday of next week, and then our second order coming in the following month. And just the same way that we build and grow our crypto mining business, you have ASICs on order, they arrive monthly. We're scaling this out, so it's very exciting. So we would hope to scale up the revenue from our what we call GPU as a service, where we're allowing people that on the marketplaces we partnered with to rent our GPUs for, a few hours or a few days. And what's really exciting is that when you look at the revenues compared to crypto mining, our GPU as a service business, which is an AI service, we're doing $1.50 a kilowatt hour of revenue, right? And Bitcoin mining revenues with new gear, 11 cents a kilowatt hour, 10 cents a kilowatt hour. So we're talking like almost 15x per kilowatt hour, the revenue. So this is very exciting. Of course, and there's a link to it on our new website, Hive Digital Technologies. There's a link to Hive Cloud, and Hive Cloud is our enterprise grade private cloud platform that will allow businesses. So now this is at the more enterprise scale. So GPU as a service, any interested user can go onto a marketplace, have access to our GPUs. But with Hive Cloud, that is intended to be an enterprise grade service for small and mid-sized businesses that are looking to an alternative to the bigger, the big three incumbent cloud providers, which charge dearly, right? And so what it's going to allow people to do is they could train their own large language models on Hive Cloud, have a service level agreement with Hive, ownership of data, privacy, all the things that are very important for companies who want to get into the AI realm, but don't necessarily want to just use a public tool like ChatGPT, right? Which is a lot like anything that you're sending to ChatGPT, any proprietary data. Think of uploading photos to Facebook in 2012, right? Like you're just gonna um, give up ownership of your data. And so this is we see where, and I've talked to a lot of companies that are active in AI right now, or enterprises that want to get into the sector. Privacy and ownership of data is really big. So we're tackling it both in terms of understanding what our potential clients' needs are. We're building up the infrastructure side of the business. And of course, the bridge between that is the software, which is Hive Cloud.
So I've always found that Hive is probably one of the most interesting public miners out there. One of the most interesting companies going into this new paradigm of the digital world. And I think it's fascinating, kind of your journey going from mining crypto, mining Bitcoin, now expanding into providing differentiated services to let's just say on the AI hype, but those services are generalized. They can really serve, like you mentioned, any cloud needs, really anything that needs CPUs and GPUs. That's pretty much what the internet is run on. Can you just talk about how Hive has been able to adapt so quickly and avoid some of the pitfalls that other folks who are in the public Bitcoin mining space have fallen into?
Inch by inch, everything's a cinch. Take it by the yard can be very hard. I think it's an old football statement. Take it, get the inches in there, and I think that's how we focus. And we have not taking huge bets on energy that can blow up on you, or huge bets on buying a bunch of equipment and then finding out they're not delivered on time. So it's been, and we've had our challenges. The servers that we originally ordered for our AI business were just not up to spruce that we needed, and they were delayed by 9 months in getting delivered. But we've solved all those problems just in time, and we're very excited about the strategic relationship with Super Micro, which is one of those other great IBD stocks this year, like Nvidia, that sort of captured the development in this space. So we feel that we're going to go about it prudently and cautiously, but it is big blue sky for us, just like it was when we first went to Ethereum. And we've invested capital in some LPs. We've invested in looking at the Lightning Network. We're looking at ordinals. I think this, the concept, I can give you more granularity, but the idea that if you hodl green coins, green generated coins, they're Genesis coins, they're going to have more value as we get further along the curve. We've only got another couple million coins to mine, and they're going to become more valuable. And so this has been clearly validated because we've been offered more, for our green coins. We've not sold into that. And we've been now finding out that the value of our Satoshis has gone up, and who would ever think? So I'd want you to go through and explain. I think it's just this whole idea of the value of your 100 million Satoshis.
Yeah, so on the core side of the business, Bitcoin mining, where, again, we've consistently ranked in terms of having the best Bitcoin per exahash. And just to, before I dive into the whole ordinal thing, just to echo one of Frank's sentiments, when we scale, we do it with intention, and we want to make sure we have the best unit economics, and we're not, biting off more than we can chew. And that means we're thoughtful about the energy that we're sourcing and ensuring that the ASICs we're buying are the best deployment of capital. We're always looking for the best cash flow return on invested capital. So that's just making sure the core engine of our Bitcoin mining, which we just hit 3.4 exahash with our ASICs, we mentioned a press release. On top of that, we have about 150 petahash of BTC equivalent from our GPUs, right? So that puts us over 3.5 exahash. We hope to be at 4 by next month. Is we did a scan of our wallets, right? Because Hive has been mining since 2017, right? It's one of the first it's the first public crypto miner, sorry. So we have about 260 uncommon sats. And so it's, there's a little bit of coding and computer science to do this. Like, you have to do raw signatures if you want to transact with specific sats. So this is stuff that we're working on. Our engineering team is working on sorting out so we can actually sell specific uncommon sats, because we've been offered value for these, which are orders of magnitude higher than the face value. And moreover, we're interested in doing our own ordinal project, right? And so we have our GPUs, which we could generate perhaps some AI art, and we're thinking of utilizing that AI art as a bespoke Hive ordinal project, which will use our own hash rate to put onto the Bitcoin blockchain, right? And so it's cool that we're doing it from A to Z, but B, it's also figuring out on the nuances in execution, as we've always strived to be like a first mover and a technology leader, because once we pull these things off, who knows where ordinal technology and inscription theory will take Bitcoin, right? And being primed and understanding the levers and gears of how to work in that realm is essential. So we're trying to be a first mover there. And I always think of Bitcoin, as we've alluded to before, and I think Jack Mahler's put it really good in one of his keynote speeches. Bitcoin is public infrastructure for money, like the internet is public infrastructure for information. But now you have information on the Bitcoin blockchain. And so this reminds me of when the iPhone came out, when I was an RF engineer, and the phones that we had more data bandwidth at the base station and cell phone level than we needed. I remember people used to have like a Motorola Razr, and then the iPhone came out and it changed everything. And now we have this like thirst for more and more data because social media got introduced to applications. So who knows what applications will be introduced with ordinal technology. So that's why we want to be positioned, and we're working with our strategic partners in the space. And I like to let you guys know what we're working on. I can't give up too many details because it's still a competitive sector, and time to market's important, but there's so much happening right now in the multiverse. And then at the same time, as a
But
public company, right?
it's simple though, isn't it, Ayden? That if you have 200 ordinals and you get off for $250,000, you're talking about pennies worth $250,000. And that just says that if you have the rarity of these Satoshis at an inflection point, so certain Bitcoins are going to be more valuable, and underlying that are these Satoshis, and that all gets unraveled like a Christmas present because of ordinals, because of someone able to find a way to attach a NFT to a Satoshi. So I think it's just extremely exciting that we don't know what news is going to come out in the next 6 months. But we do know that there are funds being raised to go and invest in a lot of money in the ordinal space and the Lightning networks. And I think that this is really important as running these data centers and being independent. We're not centralized, we're decentralized. We cater in a B2B market to the small business and the medium-sized business. We allow them to all of a sudden embrace GPT chat and start expanding how they can run their business and routing their trucks around the city, things of that nature. The AI will help them facilitate. And we can see this growth expanding rapidly. And that's where we're positioned. So we're so excited about something new is going to come out next week.
I mean, absolutely fascinating stuff. I want to, kick it back to you all. Obviously as miners, Q2 of this year was a fantastic, and even, Q1 was really a fantastic half of the year for miners in terms of fees on the Bitcoin network. Things have slowed down now and really, cooled down as the ordinals and BRC20 fad is kind of like cooling off. What makes you think that what happened here is actually something that might have some staying power? Why are you so excited about, the potential of ordinals, and why is it not just a hype cycle?
Because the Bitcoin network is the strongest peer-to-peer network in the world.
But the ORD protocol isn't Bitcoin. Inscriptions on the blockchain is Bitcoin. The ORD protocol is kind of its own thing. I'm curious if
So,
either of you have.
I think the fact that it gets validated again, and we come along with the creation of ordinals, and they come in waves. We've seen a big push by the regulatory world, and now it seems to have slowed down a bit, and that impacts the sentiment from that whole NFT world. But I don't think it's over. And I think that, like Uber was disruptive to centrally controlled two families running every city's cab business, along comes Uber, and it's decentralized. I think that we're going to see this sort of migration to, when we look at the NFT space and ordinals, is disruptive to art galleries, which charge 50% commissions. And if you go to Sotheby's, it's 25%. Along comes at 2.5 to up to 10% fees from the space. So I think it will come in waves. It's not a straight up path. It will have these spikes, regroup, and something new is going to happen. And just to add to that, I forgot, was you have to throw money at it. So one of these young artists that we've been introduced to basically bootstrapped his company. So it's like Hugo Labs behind Bored Apes Yacht Club, and so he's an ordinal art, but it cost him $250,000 of friends and family putting money into it, and now his business is worth $5 million. So I think you're going to need, and what is happening, and to fulfill that need, is VC money, LP money, sophisticated players seeding 100 of these different types of ideas in that ordinal space, an art space, and then another 100 looking at Lightning Network. So who's going to prevail at the end? I don't know. But once you start putting money behind developers and money behind creative people, the shift away from Ethereum and more of these coders, et cetera, going into this space, and knowing that they have access to capital for their ideas, is extremely bullish for the Bitcoin network.
I definitely agree with you on that. Aiden, do you have anything to add around like the longevity of the ORD protocol and maybe the viability of this on Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, without getting too technical, I think that, again, I liken it to, the advent of information being inscripted on the Bitcoin blockchain is probably where you've got the most interesting landscape. Obviously, like the BRC20 thing, I think that was mostly hype driven, and there'll be people will probably do exchanges for those separately. I think we were seeing a lot of uh, volume, big spike in transaction fees um, around getting BRC projects minted and then trading of those tokens. But I think that um, really it's where information is stored on the Bitcoin blockchain. And I'm understanding that there's new breakthroughs where people are finding clever workarounds for data size limits, etc. So I personally think that that's unique. But you know, even zooming out a little bit and just looking at like the macro sentiment now, it seems that you've got the really big institutions now. BlackRock has done a complete 180, and they're all positive and favorable on Bitcoin, and they've got their ETF that and that they're pushing forward. I saw I think it was Standard Chartered is saying that Bitcoin can rise to 120,000 by the end of 2024. Standard Chartered, like who would think
Yep, I
that,
saw that too.
you know? So I think maybe what happens is, like Frank alluded to the whole Yuga Labs Bored Ape thing, where, something starts with a small group of, tech geeks or influencers, etc. And, maybe it catches a certain wave, in terms of the social interest. And, if we look at NFTs, okay, so whatever, Justin Bieber and rappers started buying them. And once it kind of gets into the collective consciousness, then, you kind of have the surge. And so I think that where we saw now after all of that excitement and how Bitcoin held its price, in the first, 3 to 6 months of this year, and we saw all of this ordinal technology and inscription technology. Uh, I think now that the big banks are sort of like, wow, this is robust. There's something here, and you notice that they're talking about Bitcoin specifically, right? So I think it's the second half of this year should be exciting, and that's why we're also, again, we mentioned at the beginning of this call, but our goal is to double our hash rate and be one of the best pound, if not the best pound for pound Bitcoin miner in the sector. While we may not be the biggest, pound for pound, we want to be the best.
One of the things we did is that we just share with the listeners is that Hive has had this propensity from the auditors in Canada to be very, I would call it, ultra conservative or aggressive in writing everything off. And one thing is we did as an exercise, we went out and looked at all of our peers with no non-cash charges. What does it look like, cash in, cash out? And we're very proud in running our business as being the most profitable last year, in besides efficiency, etc. So we take a look at this past quarter for after our year end. It was March. We've written everything off, next to nothing for valuation for, and so this rise in Bitcoin and the rise in the business, and having a holder position puts us in I think a very attractive earnings momentum play. That's the potential. And I think that as we go forward, that you're going to see that as we expand our Bitcoin footprint, then that will expand the revenue and the cash flow. Once this starts showing up in IBD, Investors Business Daily, and publications like that, because they look for momentum in revenue and momentum in cash flow, then the audience of people that come into the company starts to expand rapidly. And then they find out that we're, in addition to Bitcoin mining and focus on the Web3 build out, we're also building over the AI. So we want to be positioned so that we show up on that menu as the hottest item, is that we're covering it all. And I look at our partners, buying NVIDIA chips, our partners with Supermicro BT. These two public companies have had a phenomenal 6 months this year, along with Hive. And so we want to be able to move along with that direction. And what we did with our Ethereum mining is that we basically put an exahash of Bitcoin mining on the balance sheet. And so we hope that the AI high margin opportunity as we go into that field and try to scale as fast as we can in a prudent way, that we could turn around and continue to take our 3.4 exahash to 6 exahash this year, and then the following year take it up to 12. But we'll have to, look at sources of capital. But we've been able to show that we can generate good cash flow internally.
So, I mean, again, I think that what you just pointed out there is one of the biggest differentiators between Hive and other miners in the space is that kind of focus on efficiency and profitability, and that's something that you both have stressed to me on every time we've had one of these interviews. I wanted to kind of kick it back to Ayden and ask, how do you manage deciding where to invest in next, right? You've been able to take money from ETH mining and turn that into more exahash on the Bitcoin network. How do you make those allocation decisions and when?
I mean, what we solve for is best cash flow return on invested capital. So it's math basically. And you just kind of have to, like, if we're looking at Bitcoin mining, we look at where hash price is, we do, planar math and sensitivity analysis on multiple coordinates to figure out what would allow us to get the best return. And that means, when you have a massive landscape of machines with everything from 22 joules a terahash up to 30 joules a terahash, and now, there's machines at 24, 27 joules a terahash, all at different prices. And then you have to have like, input sensitivity analysis, running that on a time variant basis. You really got to understand what is going to give you the best chance at making your money back and then some. But then when we also have the GPU fleet, that is where getting into our AI deployment and expanding, and sort of how and why we timed the rebrand now, because now that we tested that, completed that beta testing, and by the way, that $250,000, that was, again, just for about a month and a half of revenue. We've been earning income ever since, all throughout the second calendar quarter. We're like, okay, now it's time for us to really expand there. And we've got numerous partners that we're working with on the AI and GPU side of the business. And as we mentioned, Supermicro is a key partner of ours, as getting those servers really allows us to unleash the power of the GPUs. And just to give you a tidbit, a $6 million investment in servers will allow us to realize a revenue of $15 million in 1 year. Now, the reason why is because that you would say, oh my God, that's like less than half a year payback. Yes, because we already own the GPUs, right? We have 38,000 NVIDIA data center grade GPUs with Tensor Core, with ray tracing, with all these features. And so the fact that we already have the GPUs and we're, now pivoting their application, it's a very attractive ROI proposition. And so that's another exciting thing. But yeah, I mean, ROI, that's the first thing I said, and that's the last thing I'll say. ROI, right? We want to make money for our shareholders.
Makes complete sense. And again, y'all have been very consistent on that point. Just to, we only have about 5 minutes left, and I would be remiss, Frank, to not ask you about what you're seeing in the public markets. Obviously, this has been a stupendous year for all Bitcoin miners, but we're seeing, I would say, like hot and cold elsewhere in the markets. S&P brushing up against all-time highs, but a lot of bearishness elsewhere. A lot of macro commentary that I would say is uncertain, to say the least. I'm kind of curious, what is your outlook on what's happening? More spread out in the general investing world.
I write about this every month in particular. Every week I publish Frank Talk, Investor Alert goes out to 100,000 readers plus in 80 countries. And the monthly basis, what we've found is that Purchasing Manufacturers Index is one of the best leading indicators for energy needs and for commodities such as copper and steel. And with that, you have to follow the global PMIs. And when they're above 50, that means in 6 months, energy prices are going to be higher. Economy is going to be stronger. It's going to be more job creation. The global PMI has gone negative, and in particular since March when China first went positive and negative. So that's a dampening effect on commodity demand, but it's also a benefit on energy demand. So energy prices start to soften from what they were a year ago. On a positive note, is the airlines Jets ETF, and it's a great leading indicator of economic robustness, and it's been on a tear this year. It's outperformed the S&P by a wide margin. And when you go book an air flight 6 months out or a year out, there's no discounts, and you have to write a check today. You can book a hotel and you can cancel as you get closer, but not you have to write a check today. So the fact that you have to write a check today for something in the future, Jets ends up being a great leading indicator. So we have all this negative news of negative real interest rates, where we are in the economy, and I just sit back and say, you know, it's not that bad. The Jets is telling you that it's not that bad. And if you go back almost 100 years in data, whenever you have a president who's a Democrat and Congress is a Republican, and you're in the third year of a presidential election cycle, math is in your favor of over 95%, probably the market's up 8%. So I just scratch my head with all the negative news, and we see $1 trillion of market cap go into AI related stocks. We see hundreds of billions of going into the crypto space. And so I would say the odds favor the market trades higher this year. I could easily go through corrections, and I'm basing all this on PMIs being negative is scaring Germany. It is scaring China, and they will panic going into the second half of the year and start a stimulus. Next year's the fourth year of a presidential election cycle. So print the money, and that's good for Bitcoin.
Fantastic analysis. Gentlemen, thank you so much again for coming on the show. I want to give you both, I guess, Frank, you kind of did have a little bit of a last word there. I want to pass it back to you for your last word before we wrap up here.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about our initiatives in AI. We've talked our initiatives in ordinals. We've talked about our, just focus on being pound for pound the best. I would actually note, I don't know if this is the best forum for this, but when our it echoes one of Frank's sentiments with the auditors and all these non-cash impairments. Like, when you look at our audited financials that just came out, we did over 100 million of revenue, and you back out the corporate operating costs from G&A, on a cash basis, the company made over 30 million last fiscal year, right? And on top of that, there's all these not, impairments, depreciations, etc. They're impairing real estate, they're impairing deposits, like things that you just wouldn't think would normally be impaired. And so that creates a lot of non-cash and negative charges. But when you just look at the revenue, the cost of goods sold, and that gives you your gross mining margin, and then just your G&A, which are cash costs, the business did over 30 million of earnings on a cash basis, which I think is very remarkable because, as that included October to December, and even January was rough, right? Our fiscal year goes from April 2022 to March of 2023. So I'm very proud of my team for, we have a very lean team. We work around the clock. So,
and we have the lowest, don't we, G&A as a percentage of revenue to all our peers, Ayden?
We have the lowest G&A as a percentage and the lowest G&A in an absolute sense. I mean, most of our peers that are doing multi-exahash, all of our peers that are doing multi-exahash mining are about 50 million G&A. Ours is 13, right? Maybe some are 40, but
we're a lean fighting machine.
Lean fighting machine, yeah. Yeah, Frank's got the golden gloves. I got the Muay Thai. So,
Gentlemen, thank you again for coming on the show. Every time the market changes and Hive is reacting to it in a new way, which I just find is absolutely fascinating. Excited to have you back on again soon. But with that, to the listeners, thank you so much for coming on, for watching, and please give us back some feedback. Let us know if this show is helpful. Let us know if we deserve those 5-star rankings. Leave a comment, and hey, come see me and maybe these gentlemen over at Bitcoin Amsterdam. So
We'll be there like last year. We'll be key sponsors, and we love it.
absolutely. Well, hey, Bitcoin Amsterdam, October 12th through the 13th. I'm excited to be there. It is shaping up to be much bigger, and in my opinion, it's going to be better than the first one. I'm really excited to show everyone what we're working on. So come
Great.
see us in Amsterdam. But with that, peace out, everyone. Thank you
Take
so
care.
much, and cheers to you on the success and on the rebrand. And excited to have you back on the show soon.
Thank you for the wonderful questions.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Miami, for the last 3 years in this amazing city. The whole world shut down, but Miami welcomed us with open arms. We want to show Bitcoin to the whole world. We are taking the conference on the road to set the stage for Bitcoin in a new city. Nashville. Bitcoin 2024 is coming to Nashville in Tennessee, a city that is known as a music and freedom city. Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville from July 25th to 27th.
Thank you, fellow Bitcoiners. You brought Bitcoin to the global stage.
Bitcoin came and Bitcoin was not expected by anybody.
Joining our 3-day ride on a mission of hyper-Bitcoinization with brilliant minds that raised the bar worldwide.
But it goes far deeper than that.
You listened to different angles and seen various perspectives. You dared to stand up and speak out.
If you love somebody, tell them to buy Bitcoin.
You were there to learn, teach, and inspire. Discovered opinions and arise with vision.
And everything less than that is pure madness.
You came together to collaborate and celebrate, side by side, for the greatest financial innovation. You came to Amsterdam, and you made history.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.